Welcome, Whitney. Okay, so we wanted to do a video to welcome Whitney to our team at KDH Counseling. We're really excited. So she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Can we start with that, Whitney?
Yeah. So, Whitney Storey, I'm a provisionally licensed professional counselor here in Lafayette. I love school too much. So I got my master's in psych and then also have a master's in counselor education, which is how I kind of landed in the world of counseling here. Have a lot of respect for and experience with and just a love of working with all types of people, but especially women, especially mothers. So I actually became a community breastfeeding educator, so that's like the additional little letters on my name. And then I'm also now currently working on a specialty in perinatal mental health, so I can kind of work with all of the issues around there. But besides work, I teach psychology full time. That's my full time gig. And then I'm a mom to two, a wife to a musician partner. He's a sweetie pie, and I've got all kinds of other dependents like plants and animals that fill my life with all kinds of things I need to do and love to do.
So when you're in the office, when you're a counselor, what is your favorite age group?
Oh man, I love high school all the way up to, middle adulthood. Kind of this range of adult is what I really, really love. I think there's so much transition that happens in those years, from us becoming like grown-ups to like figuring out who we want to be and the things we care about, and starting families and making commitments and commitments ending. And I just think that there's so much change that happens in those years that makes those humans probably the most interesting for me and the ones I relate to the most.
So you like the transitions of teenage, adult, like any transitional time?
Yeah. So like figuring out what you want to do with your life, figuring out if you want to go to college, starting a relationship, ending a relationship, starting your family, loss. All of those kinds of like big changes, changing your job, that I think are really, really normal and really, really difficult for us. And I say us on purpose, difficult for me too, to go through, especially to go through alone. I think that's why that stuff is so cool for me to be able to work with people.
Well, and what is your favorite type of approaches, or your favorite techniques that you use?
Yeah,
As a
so
therapist?
I as a client, I did not work well with traditional CBT. I feel like my brain is too anxious for that. So I eventually found myself into acceptance and commitment therapy, which is it's still it's a type of CBT, but it works with thoughts a little bit differently. So ACT is really nice because it doesn't make my thoughts the problem, which is, I think, the reason why my anxious brain didn't work well with traditional CBT. I'm not trying to wrangle my thinking anymore. ACT is more about like acknowledging that thoughts happen, and like, what if there's more to life than trying to wrestle with or change, or just getting too stuck on any of my particular thoughts or feelings or memories or anything like that. So it's a really fun, interesting technique, foundation of therapy, because it's about increasing our living as opposed to like trying to stop things. So it's been really, really helpful for me as a person, and I think for the clients I've worked with, they've really benefit from it as well.
Well, and I love acceptance commitment therapy because it kind of complements exposure response prevention, which I use for OCD, and a lot of the mindfulness stuff, like in DBT, that stuff. It's the newer therapies. They complement it. Yeah.
Yes. Mindfulness and learning how to like be present with ourselves, which it's definitely something that is talked about kind of colloquially now out in the world, like this idea of like mindfulness and being present and stuff, but it's like, it's really helpful, come to find out. So
Who knew? Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so what are some tips you have that you would have for your clients? Just a few tips that might be helpful.
So, I mean, a big one for me, and I find with my clients has been really helpful, is the more I learn about my brain, the more I feel like I can understand the bizarre stuff that it comes up with. And the more I understand about how anxiety happens. So learning, doing that psychoeducation piece, learning about my limbic system and, our tendency to fight or freeze or flee. And I think that's the first piece is the more you can learn about your brain and the way that your brain functions, I think the more empathy you can have for yourself. And the more empathy I have for my brain because it's trying to do the best it can. So that's one big tip. I think another big tip for me is this process in ACT we call diffusion, being able to like get some distance between me and the stuff that comes up. So noticing in the moment when I'm feeling anxious that I am not anxiety. I'm experiencing anxiety. And I'm also experiencing a lot of other stuff at the same time. So there's some exercises that I do and that we do in the therapy room together that I think are really helpful for learning how to like get some space from that stuff. Because when we can get some space from it, we can see it more clearly. And usually for most people, that means that it becomes a little less overwhelming when you can see it more clearly.
I like that. I use that a lot, but just like naming it, so name
Mhm.
what it is. It's just a thought practice.
Yes. Yes.
Good stuff. So I'm really excited that you're going to come work here. I'm really, really excited about
Me
it. And
too.
I'm glad to introduce you to people, and you're going to do more. I know you're going to write a blog. You're in the process of writing a blog on acceptance commitment
Yes.
therapy. And hopefully you're going to write something on the brain. I get really excited about that stuff. And we're going to do another one of these later with more information.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thanks, guys.